What's going on, guys? I'm TieFly85.
And I'm T-Rec87.
And today's episode, we're doing This Week in Movies. Let's get started. What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of MG Nights. Now, today we're going to be taking a peek at This Week in Movies, because there's some pretty awesome movies coming out this week. But before we get started, I want to go ahead and go back over the numbers like we did last week. So the last week's movies that came out on Friday were The Post, Paddington 2, I, Tonya, and The Commuter. Now, starting with The Post, the gross box office on that particular movie did end up making $19.3 million. So it was actually a pretty good chunk of change for an opening weekend on this particular type of movie. But so far, total as of today, we're at $23.8 million for this movie. So it's not doing too bad. The budget for it was $50 million. So I would say that it's definitely on par of probably going to be hitting that number for sure. Now, next up on our list, we had Paddington 2, and this is a very kid-friendly, family-friendly movie, and the gross box office on that particular one was $11 million, and so far it has grossed $11.5 million. So not really super high, but that's kind of expected when it comes to kids movies or animated movies. Like, it's always a win when you have those kind of movies. So as far as it goes, I mean, that could be potentially a win for Paddington 2. The next one up on our list was I, Tonya, which is the true story of Tonya Harding, and that movie actually ended up making $11 million, and total as of today, we're at $11.8 million. So the movie did actually rather well, I would say, overall. Like, obviously it's not done doing its run, so we'll see how that ends up finalizing itself in the end. Now, the last one up on our list was one that I was actually pretty excited for because I love Liam Neeson, and that's The Commuter. And that one opened up with the gross box office of $13.7 million, and so far to date has made $14 million. So definitely overall, I mean, it was a huge weekend for movies. I mean, that's quite a bit of money overall when you add those all together. Also, too, another crazy side note that I wanted to add for a lot of you, if you did watch our Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle review this past week, one of the craziest things that just blows my mind of what's happening right now is Jumanji came out back in December for Christmas, and it's still in the top 5 movies for the year. Like, it's just crazy to me that that movie is almost about to hit $1 billion. So, and it literally is holding true. I mean, it was number 1 for quite a while, and then it just kind of got bumped down, but it's still holding fast at like number 2 overall. So it's just a crazy thing. And Welcome to the Jungle was a great movie. If none of you have seen our review, definitely go back and give it a watch. All right, guys, and moving on from last week's movies, we want to move into the movies that are coming out today, Friday. And the first one up on our list, we have Phantom Thread. Now, I'm really excited for this movie because I love Daniel Day-Lewis, and I think he's such an amazing actor. I loved him all the way back from Gangs of New York. And another really awesome tidbit on this movie is the director, Paul Thomas Anderson, who also directed There Will Be Blood, who also starred Daniel Day-Lewis. I think it's kind of cool, like when you find an actor-director combo, why change a good thing? I mean, one of the most major ones that comes to mind is Tim Burton and Johnny Depp. Like, it seems to be like, you see them all together a lot of the time. T-Rec87, what did you think about Phantom Thread?
Okay, I guess I'll preface this by saying that this type of movie genuinely is probably not for me. There's very few serious movies out there that are like serious and dramatic that I get excited about. I thought it looked kind of intriguing. Looked like it seemed like there were a lot of like mind games in the movie, and just a lot of like, I don't know, psychological things going on. And so I guess it probably is an interesting movie, and I bet you if I gave it a chance, I would probably end up liking it. But just like based on the trailer alone, it didn't have me very excited, just personally. But again, I tend to like more like comedies and action and stuff like that, so I can see why it looks interesting to some. I just don't think it's for me.
Yeah, and for any of you who have not seen the trailer, definitely check it out down in the description below. Go take a peek at it and see if it's something that you're interested in, or if you agree with either me or T-Rec87. All right, well, moving on from Phantom Thread, next up we have another Chris Hemsworth movie, which I'm super stoked for, and that's 12 Strong. And the movie looks pretty interesting overall, I would say. And it stars Michael Pena as well, which a lot of you probably remember him from Crash or $1 Million Baby. So if any of you definitely are interested in checking out that trailer, let us know what you think. We're going to leave it down in the description below. Definitely, let us know what you thought of it. All right, moving on from 12 Strong, we do have Hostiles, and this particular movie actually does look pretty good. It's set back in the early 1900s, pre-Civil War, and you have Christian Bale, who's playing a captain, and basically Wes Studi, who's playing an Indian chief, and he's just a really famous actor. He's been in Dances with Wolves and quite a few other films. And then you also have an actor I'm most excited for to see, and that's Scott Wilson, who played Herschel Green on The Walking Dead, which a lot of us haven't seen him in a few movies since The Walking Dead. So it'll be really exciting and awesome to see him. T-Rec87, what did you think of Hostiles?
I thought this looked really good, actually. I personally love Christian Bale. I think he's a fantastic actor, and this is actually one of the few genres that I always genuinely enjoy, and that being basically any sort of movie set in old America, back in the Civil War days and the colony days, stuff like that. I always really enjoy that. I wasn't really much of a history buff in school, but when you put it to me in movie form, I always really enjoy watching about these types of things. I thought it looked really good. It'll really bring to light some of the issues with it looks like with the way the Native Americans got treated. Obviously it looks like that guy gets treated pretty poorly. You guys should honestly check out the trailer for yourselves, but it looks like a fantastic movie. I think it'll be really good.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it was. Moving on from Hostiles, the next one up is Den of Thieves, starring Gerard Butler. Now, I love Gerard Butler all the way back from 300, and he was just recently in Geostorm, which I thought was actually a really good movie, but did get critically panned as being a really bad movie for last year. But also another actor in this particular movie is Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent, for a lot of you who know him. But Den of Thieves looks like a really old school bank heist movie, and I mean, it's not set in any kind of time frame. It's modern day. It's about time that we get a really cool bank heist film, I think.
Yeah, it looks really good. I think I don't know, it looks like just one of those, I don't know, classic, action movies with the cops and everything like that. Cops and robbers, always makes for good cinema. So that is a movie, and I love Gerard Butler too. I think 300 was one of my favorite movies of all time. I remember when that first came out, everybody, loved that movie. Curtis Jackson, I don't know. I haven't heard very great things about any of his movies he's been in. Just generally speaking, he's not, obviously most people know him as the rapper 50 Cent, so he's not primarily an actor, and I think that's something he's been trying to over the years get into. So I am curious to see what he does to the role, if he actually brings anything to the role. I'm a little just hesitant and skeptical about him. But I thought overall the movie looked really good. The trailer looked really good. You guys should go just give it a watch and see what you think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. For sure. If you guys want to check out that trailer, like I said, all of the trailers will be down in the description below, so definitely go check them all out. Let us know what you thought of them. Now, moving on from movies that came out today, I wanted to talk about some really awesome news that I found and share with you guys that I'm really excited for. And the first one up on the list is the new Venom movie by Sony that actually is coming out on October 5th. There was a report that was from movies.com that stated, I'll just read it exactly in its entirety, so then you guys can go read the rest of the article after the fact, but Spider-Man is going to be in Venom. For the last couple of months, we've been hearing how Sony is keeping it all separated. The Spider-Man is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but every other character that's in the Spider-Man universe is separate. All I'm saying is that the Spider-Man, and I'm talking about Tom Holland's Spider-Man, is going to be in Venom. So it's really interesting to see if this ends up becoming a reality, because I can't really picture a Venom movie without Spider-Man. How do you make a standalone Venom movie without it?
Yeah, but so that's something we've all been hearing. For a long time they were saying that Spider-Man wasn't going to be in this movie. Now I do want to point out just really quickly that this has not been an officially released statement from Sony or anybody else. This actually comes from John Schnepp, and he is just a filmmaker. He's not actually even making this movie, but he obviously, being a filmmaker, does have sources in the industry. So I think it's a highly reliable source. I think there's a very good chance we could see Tom Holland's Spider-Man in this movie, which would be great. Because exactly like you said, you can't have a Venom movie without Spider-Man in there somewhere. Even if Spider-Man is not the focal point of the movie, he has to make an appearance in there somewhere, you know? Or it wouldn't be the Spider-Man universe without it.
So something else as far as the Venom movie that I'm really super stoked for is Tom Hardy, which a lot of you, he's actually going to be playing Venom. And I love Tom Hardy as an actor. I mean, he played Bane in The Dark Knight. He also did Mad Max in the new remake of the Mad Max film, which both of those movies and those characters, I loved them. Like, I know T-Rec 87, you loved the Batman with Christian Bale.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's just... I really like Tom Hardy. I think he did such an amazing job as Bane. Like, I don't even care all the criticisms people said where his voice was kind of funny or the character he played was a little too campy. Like, I loved it, hands down. I love Tom Hardy.
I did too, and actually I didn't realize that Mad Max and Bane were the same guy. But I mean, Tom Hardy really goes like all in for his roles, it seems. You know, like when he played Bane, you know, he got, you know, beefed up, he, you know, shaved his head, he looked super, and he's unrecognizable from Mad Max, so he really gets into his roles, I think. So that does make me really excited. I have high hopes for this movie because it's been in the rumor mill for like ages, you know, that this movie was going to happen, and now it's finally coming to a reality, and I just hope it's good, is all I can hope. So
yeah, but one of the awesome things, so obviously Tom Hardy is going to be Venom, and this particular movie will arrive on October 5th of this year. So we'll see whether or not that date changes or not, but so far it is confirmed October 5th. All right, well, moving on from that, another really awesome story that I think is Jake Gyllenhaal the next Batman? Which I think is a really good question for most people. I mean, the rumor mill has obviously been flying around, and Jake Gyllenhaal's name has been the one that's just been kind of out there in the forefront. And so I thought it was really interesting. I mean, as far as, you know, Ben Affleck's departure and Warner Brothers and all the stuff that's kind of happening there behind the scenes, because I feel like when people are reporting stuff like this and we go to read it, we're not really too sure if it's the person giving the article's opinion or if it's something that they specifically heard, or... So we don't really know because Warner Brothers hasn't specifically said anything, as well as Ben Affleck has kind of hinted here and there about things, but it's kind of cryptic overall. Yeah. It's not anything straightforward. But I did find this article that I thought I was really excited for that said, you know, Jake Gyllenhaal is the next Batman. And basically there's a report in here that Revenge of the Fans shares this quote from an anonymous source. So just so you guys know, this isn't a credible source, but it did come from Revenge of the Fans. And it says, Jake Gyllenhaal is probably Batman. Affleck is not out as of yet, but the thing is, he still has a contract. So obviously we know that, you know, Ben Affleck still has a contract, but the studio is sour on him. If Ben rolls, Jake is in. Kind of a weird web. These guys both know they control each other's destinies. So, I mean, it is pretty interesting when you think about that. I mean, I just am not really too sure how it is that Ben Affleck is going to exit out of Batman, and then how it is that Jake Gyllenhaal would come in, because it's not really clear whether it's going to be Flashpoint or it's going to be, you know, maybe he's going to make his departure in Suicide Squad 2. Like, so it's just kind of still up in the air.
I think it'll be Flashpoint, dude. I think they're going to, honestly, the only good way I see of them explaining him changing, like, basically who the person is basically with Flashpoint and Barry Allen going into like an alternate timeline of sorts, or the timeline gets changed, and you know, at the end of the film when he gets done, Batman is no longer Ben Affleck, but he's Jake Gyllenhaal, but he's like the, you know, kind of the same guy, he just looks different. I think that would be the best way to explain it.
I personally agree with you. Flashpoint would be where they think they should. I still loved your idea though of going back to Batman Beyond.
That would be cool too. I mean, it's never going to happen, but I mean, stay strong. You know, somebody, like I said, somebody keep messaging Ben Affleck and let him know that I've got a script ready for him. But yeah, I mean, that's the only logical way I see him exiting. But you know, they could just swap out the character if they just decide to do that. I mean, they could just basically swap him out, and I would hate to see that, but that could be the end result of what we see happening. But hopefully they can incorporate the change in a story element somehow.
Yeah, it definitely seems like Flashpoint seems like the most logical place to have him switch. Yeah. In the character line, because I mean, if any of you have read the comics, you know that Flashpoint, that, you know, the Flash goes back in time, and when he comes back, it's slightly altered, and Bruce Wayne is somebody else. So that storyline could be the perfect outing for Ben Affleck. I agree with that. Now, the next film that I want to talk about that I'm super excited for is Obi-Wan Kenobi in the new Han Solo story? Is he in that film? Now, it potentially could be Now, one of the really awesome things before we get into the details on that is they did actually release the synopsis storyline for the Han Solo movie. And I want to go ahead and read that to you guys now. Now, as always, the link for the article will be in the description if you want to read it its entirety, but I'm just going to read just the description of the movie. So here we go. Board the Millennium Falcon and journey to a galaxy far, far away in a Solo, a Star Wars story. An all-new adventure with the most beloved scoundrel in the galaxy through a series of daring escapades deep within a dark and dangerous criminal underworld. Han Solo meets his mighty future co-pilot Chewbacca and encounters the notorious gambler Lando Calrissian in a journey that will be set course of one of the Star Wars saga's most unlikely heroes. So I'm really excited. I mean, that particular storyline, I loved the idea of being able to see Han Solo before anything, and then Han Solo meeting Chewbacca, and then also Han Solo meeting Lando Calrissian, and then how that all happened and went down. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, so, and going back to, just real quickly, going back to Obi-Wan, because out of all these guys, Obi-Wan's my favorite. What really kicked off the rumor mill on this is Ewan McGregor has been spotted recently, kind of donning a beard, like you looking Obi-Wan-esque lately. And that has really been what, and he's been getting back into shape, and he's been going to the gym and stuff like that. And so that's what really kind of got this kicked into gear. And there's no reason that he can't be in the Solo, a Star Wars story, because, you know, Han Solo obviously didn't know him before they had met in the cantina in Mos Eisley, but there's no reason that Chewbacca didn't necessarily know him. And I think that's what Typefly was getting at, was that Chewbacca knows, you know, like Yoda, he knows some of the Jedi. Chewbacca's obviously, I don't know how long-lived Wookiees are necessarily, but Chewbacca's obviously very old, and I mean, in comparison to human years, and so there's no reason that he doesn't know Obi-Wan Kenobi, and so he could make a cameo appearance in this movie, and that has me very excited. I am excited to learn more about Han Solo and how he met Chewie and how he got Lando's ship, you know, the Millennium Falcon. I think and diving into the criminal underworld of Star Wars, I think will make for a really good movie personally. And this leading from that, and just real quickly, this gives me so much hope that there will eventually be an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, and I really hope there is someday.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love, like what you just said, with the underworld criminal aspect of it. I mean, there were so many bounty hunters and stuff within Star Wars that they could just take that storyline and run with it for days. I mean, I am super excited, and I'm wondering if, based off of the Han Solo film, if they end up doing the underworld very well with the criminals, could we potentially see a spin-off of a character within, you know, Solo? So it'd be pretty interesting. I'm really excited. I mean, I don't know when they're going to drop the trailer. Like we probably previously said, it's probably going to be a Super Bowl if we had to guess, but I mean, who really knows, honestly? So another really awesome thing that's happening with the Star Wars film is, like Tarek said, if they do end up making an Obi-Wan Kenobi film standalone Solo, is Liam Neeson actually told Yahoo Movies that he's interested in returning to the role as Qui-Gonn Jinn in this Solo Obi-Wan movie, which is kind of awesome. I mean, obviously as a Force ghost, of course, because obviously Qui-Gon Jinn is dead, but it would be really awesome to see that storyline, because I know we've had this conversation before, TREC87, that Obi-Wan was on that planet for so long, there had to have been so much stuff that happened in between, you know, when Luke was a tiny little kid to the point of where they finally met each other, because Luke knew Obi-Wan as Old Ben.
Right.
So, I mean, he knew of him, he just didn't know. So it would be interesting to see that whole storyline of how, like, Luke ended up knowing Old Ben as Old Ben before that, and then also to see the story of him on, you know, like a hermit on the desert planet. So it would be very interesting to see that story, and I would love to see Qui-Gon Jinn come back as a Force ghost for sure. Alrighty, guys, well, that's all we have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. We really do appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and remember to stay tuned tomorrow. We'll have some gaming news for this week for you. I've got some pretty interesting stories I think you guys will enjoy. There's been some pretty cool stuff happening in the gaming industry this week that we're going to talk about tomorrow. So, like I said, come back tomorrow, and we'll get you guys caught up on that. But again, thanks so much for watching, you guys. We do appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you again soon.
And always remember, stay awesome.
Time for your feelings, but you have to admit I already do. Let's just break it down to you and me uptown, dancing all around till the disco ball pops. But I have to be me.